Hi, this is Wendy with DYARD Software. I'm going to continue our deep dive series and talk about the Galaxy tool. You can follow along with your product of Universe Image Creator, or we have a free website version of it. If you go to our website at universeimagecreator.com, it's listed on the menu. So once you have your product opened, you'll see that this is your default screen. It's black, and you might be thinking, what in the world? Well, that's because there's no objects displayed. You can also tell that no objects have been displayed because there's nothing listed. The default to start with is a star field. We're going to actually change that and start today with the Galaxy. I want to focus on that. So if I click on this pencil, that will display all the properties for the tool that's shown, which is of course right now the Galaxy. When I click anywhere in this black area, it will display or render a galaxy based on these parameters. If I want to change its orientation, I click on the orientation button. You can see that it's depressed. And then if I come over here and if I click and hold down my mouse and go up and down, I'm changing its orientation vertically. If I click on my mouse and go left to right, it's changing it in a horizontal way. It's kind of flipping it from ear to ear. I'm going to make it kind of more flat facing so you can see this next tool. There we are. The next tool is the location tool. So with the location tool, all I have to do is click anywhere and it will go to that spot. It'll put the middle of this object at my pointer. See? The other thing I can do is I can click and drag it. When I release my mouse, it'll put it there. So that is the location tool. You'll need to click it again to unselect it before moving on. That is this geometry section. Before I move on a little bit more, I think I want to change my Galaxy. I'm going to select in the style section and I'm going to change it to SB. It actually, you have many choices here. You have many elliptical Galaxy types, barred spirals that you can't see in this video. It's displayed below the viewing area, as well as SO. So I'll let you play around with that. I'm going to click on SB. I kind of like how the arms look here. I'm also going to change my primary colors. I want it to be noticeable when we go through the parameters. So I'm going to make this first one, I guess, a little bright red. When you fixed your color the way you like it, just click anywhere in this blue, in this gray area, as with all of our other tools, and it will display it. So here we are. The secondary color, I'm going to make it a different shade so you can tell the difference. So I'll pick this one. It's kind of pretty. And there, that way you can tell the difference of when we go through these parameters. Now that I've kind of changed it, it's a different type of Galaxy. I'm going to change this name up above. See, it's displayed here. And I only have the one object. I can tell because if I click on the down arrow, it's just the one object displayed. But to change it so I can remember it, I'll highlight whatever I want to change, and I'll just make it red and blue. If I hit enter, nothing happens, but if I click in the gray area, it does select it, and you can see in this object up at the top, it changes it to red and blue. So now we're moving along. We've talked about the orientation location. Now let's just quickly look at distance and size. All of these, or most of them, are based on a slider. So if I click on this slider and I move to the left, I will move the object closer to me, so it'll be less distant. If I move it to the right, it's going to make it larger, meaning further distance away from me. Okay? So that's the distance. For size, it acts similarly, however, it is different. The distance is the same spot relative to where I am in my little universe space, but if I move it to the left, it makes it smaller. So it's still there, it's just a smaller object. If I move it to the right, it's a bigger object, but it's still in the same XY coordinate. XYZ, because we're kind of in a space. So that's how the distance and size works. When we move to this next section on texture, we're going to look, we've already looked at the style and the primary and secondary color. The color mix is how these two colors are interact and how much of each one you see. So you can see when you go further to the right, you see more of the primary color. When you go to the far left, you see the secondary color and not much of the primary color. Now the blend is interesting. This actually refers to how it blends itself, this galaxy, with its surroundings, its background, those items that are behind it. So right now when you do add, you're adding the color on top of whatever's behind it. For this particular universe, there's nothing. There's no stars, interstellar gas, any of other tools behind. It's just black. So when we do add, it's simply putting it on top. If I do a combine, it's going to combine the blackness with this. So you can kind of see the red and the blues, but it's not, none of the bright colors are coming through. I'm going to bring it back to add. All of these other ones have different effects. If I actually do subtract, it subtracts this to the background, so you only see the background. So it should be black. There it is, black. If I do multiply, you're multiplying it times background, which is black. Maximized is similar to combined. However, the last one, one-on-one, is similar to the first one, except it's emphasized. So it's a little bit more bright. Here's the regular. This is the default setting, which is adding this element on top of whatever is in the background. We'll do other tutorials that will go into depth of how this can be used with multiple objects. And the blend factor, once again, kind of shows how it's being blended with the background. Density is how dense this interior area will be. If you go to the right, it's going to be more dense. Less. Left shows less density. Usually we keep it kind of more in the center, but it's up to your preference. The fall off is interesting. This has to do with how the light affects away from each element. So if I have the fall off is to the right, there's not much fall off. That means it doesn't bleed into the space around it. If I go far to the other side, you can see that the light is going on further away from all the elements, but it's a really neat effect. I recommend that you just play around with all of these. I'm going to bring it a little bit in so there's a little bit of fall off or bleeding of color. The vortex has to do with the spin. If I go to the right, I have a higher spin rate of the arms. If I go to the left, it's a slower spin rate. And the interesting thing is it kind of is similar to how this arms works. If I go higher on the arms, you can see it's almost like my vortex is higher. And if I go to the other end, to the left, I only have the two arms. I think if I go to the far, it will even, well, just the two arms. So that's arms and vortex. They are very similar. The next item has to do with the black hole. This is interesting, and you can see it better when you have it selected to combine mode. If I select the black hole here, you can definitely see it here in the center. If you go to the left, it becomes so small you can hardly even notice it. And then to the other side, you can see that it's very large. Depending on what effect you're trying to achieve, this is a very powerful tool. If I select add, you'll see this black hole behind it. It's just harder to see. So you can see, if I make it a little bigger, definitely more noticeable. And then smaller as it gets into the galaxy, it's not as noticeable. Okay, so that's the black hole. Star size is exactly what you'd think. If you go to the right, the stars are bigger. If you go to the left, they're smaller. You can see them more. Okay, the last is noise. And let's just play around with it. Frequency, if I go to the far right, it increases the frequency of the noise. To the left, decreases. hardly no frequency noise. Put it in the middle. Maybe a little right there. Granularity, once again, when you go to the right, you're increasing the granularity size, and to the left, you're decreasing it. Amplitude is the same. So here's a high amplitude noise, which means it's kind of being displayed louder, and now a low. This is the lowest. High. And usually you like it kind of in the middle. And like gain, this increases all of them. So that's a high gain, and here's a low gain. All right. Below that is 2 buttons. The top one will change your sampling. So let's say you don't like what is displayed here, but you like all the parameters set. You can just click on this a few times, and maybe you might like a different sampling of these parameters. It is just a numerical algorithm that's being displayed. The very last button is called Restore Defaults, and if you select that, you'll go back to that original purple galaxy. If you have any questions, please let me know. And once again, we're very happy that you're using Universe Image Creator. Thank you.